Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you, and a very good morning to those of you who are in Europe. And both of our speakers are from Europe today, from Romania. So a very good morning to them as well. And good afternoon to those of you who are in Asia, like Angie and I are. So for our SF ClassNet 2022 School Collaboration 1 on Holistic Learning Environments for Innovative Teaching and Learning, today we will be having the last thematic webinar, and it's also the 5th thematic webinar, Relationship Building for Holistic Teaching and Learning Practices. And first of all, thank you for doing so well during the self-learning phase. And with this session today, you will be completing this phase. So a very, big congratulations to all of you. So without further ado, let's see who we have today for our session. So we have two lovely speakers from Romania, Dr. Dana Rad and Dr. Tiberiu Dughi. And Dr. Dana Rad, she's Associate Professor and also Head of Center of Research Development and Innovation in Psychology from Orwell. I think I'm having a bit of difficulty pronouncing the university name. I should have checked. I think Orwell. Could you help me, Dr. Dana?
Yes, hello, and good morning. That will be Aurel Vlaicu, University of Arad.
Aurel Vlaicu, University of Arad. Perfect. Thank you so much. And Dr. Tiberiu Dughi, he's the Vice Dean and Associate Professor at the Faculty of Education Sciences, Psychology and Social Work at Aurel Vlaicu, University of Arad. I hope I got it right. So they will be today speaking about, teacher-learner relationship. As educators, you know that this is such an important part of teaching and learning, such an important part of pedagogy. And how can educators build good relationship with learners can really have a huge impact on students' learning outcome. So without wasting any time, let's give the floor to our speakers today, and then let's learn from them about how teacher can build good and impactful relationship with their learners. So the floor is yours, Dr. Dana Rad and Dr. Tiberiu Dughi.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, dear Jyoti, for the nice welcome you have done for us. So I will share the presentation. I hope everyone can see the slides.
Yes.
And as for our organization, I'm going to start the presentation, and then my colleague, Professor Tiberiu Dughi, will join us for the sub-theme of sense of belonging, and then we will discuss in a few words some research results and conclusions we were doing together with our colleagues. Please allow me to start it. And welcome everybody on theme 5, relationship building, in the ASEF ClassNet School Collaboration, Holistic Learning Environment for Innovative Teaching and Learning Program. So I will present in 2 minutes something about our university. So we are coming from Romania. This will be the western side of the country, and we are having a border with Hungary. This is our beautiful city, Arad, in which our university is located near to the Mureș River. We have a beautiful castle and some beautiful nice places you can spend some quality time. As for our university, in short, we have 30 years old of existence. We have 9 faculties, and me and my colleague, we are coming from the Faculty of Educational Sciences, Psychology and Social Work. So we are doing a lot of work in the field of educational sciences and psychology. This will be in short. We are training students for pedagogy, bachelor and master, for psychology and for social work. And both of us, we are coming from psychology field, and we both have research interests into educational psychology. The most important aspect about our work and projects is that we are focusing on psychological educational elements, starting from early education until our students, let's call them higher education. So we try to cover all segments. In relation to the topic today, we will talk about relationship building and how we can scientifically measure, assess, and improve some of the key elements from the relationship building between teachers and students, mainly because, as everybody knows by now, the interaction between us and our students is crucial to the learning process. And we started looking at some nice research done in this field. And as a conclusion, we can say that since 2004 until now, a lot of researchers discovered that this interaction and the meaningful interaction between instructor and student has been repeatedly shown to improve students' achievement and learner satisfaction, which will be the main topics for us. Now we have looked at the topics you have covered by now, and we already know that you looked at the different aspects of holistic education. We will just cover this topic for a conclusion aspect, because we know we have the last session. Also, we know that you cover some aspects in relation to grit. We will refer to grit in a research we were doing together with our colleagues, because in our opinion, if we can measure the grit and we can enhance the grit of our students, then we have reached some huge potential. And but I will talk about these aspects later. So in short, we will talk in this hour about some principles about holistic education, the concept of community of inquiry framework, the sense of belonging, and we will have some nice references here for the topic of relationship building. And for 10 minutes, we will talk about our current research, where the aspects of teacher presence, sense of belonging, and grit come together and show us a nice picture about how our students are doing in relation to grit and what can we do to enhance their grit, because that would be our final outcome. In short, grit, as you already know by now, is a personality trait. This means that we can train it. And it is associated with passion, ambition, resilience, and perseverance to help us accomplish long-term goals. So we have to be passionate about what we are doing in order for our students to also be passionate about their learning. I will quickly and briefly go into the main holistic education principles. We are talking about the wholeness. We are talking about the spiritual, physical, emotional, and social sides that we are going to train in our students. We are going to place an emphasis of each of the bolded aspects in order to reach the full potential of holistic education. So we will focus mainly in our teaching on life experiences rather than just limiting ourselves to fundamental competencies. But this you already talked about with our colleagues. And I will just briefly go into the main model on how to address holistic education, starting from early childhood education until we reach the young adulthood, in order to get a smooth and successful pathway between these life stages. So briefly, we will start as educators in early childhood. when we want to develop mainly the agency, the concrete self-concept, and of course the pre-competencies and competencies. They are regarded as main segments like mindsets, values, self-regulation, and knowledge and skills. And about agency, we all know that in social sciences, the agency refers to the power and resources to fulfill my potential. And this goes in the same manner for the instructor as well as for our student. So we would like to enhance the capacity to actively and independently choose and let's say follow the free will or self-determination to achieve your goal. And this we are doing as educators in early childhood education, because as you see, in early childhood education, we are focusing on knowledge and skill sides and on self-regulation. And a lot of training systems are going on the so-called ability to delay gratification, which represents a hot topic in early childhood education research on how to train young learners, how to postpone the positive they get from experiences and wait for things to happen in the right way. So we are doing this mainly on early childhood education. We slowly move to middle childhood, where we are still focusing on agency and competencies. We start to develop self-regulation processes more actively. And slowly going into early adolescence, where the main topic would be the mindset. As educators, in the paradigm of holistic education, we are focusing on mindsets and especially focusing on growth mindsets, because we want to have active learners, critical thinkers, who have a mind of their own and who are able to decide and to make decisions for their own benefit, because they have to learn to see the consequences of their actions. And how can this be done other than us, the educators, showing them and guiding them through different decisions that they are going to have and to make. But again, we will place an emphasis on the growth mindset. We will slowly go then to the middle adolescence, where we will focus our strategy on values, because as we all know, in the values theory of Professor Schwartz, everybody has a set of principles that are guiding the whole life. And if these principles are set up in a proper manner while middle adolescence, this would be the high school students from 15 to 18 years old, then we are sure that these values are sedimented and they will become the bricks of their adulthood. And for sure, we know that our interference in their lives is a positive interference. So we need to place an emphasis on the values. But this is not the topic of today, and I will just briefly go into the last stage. We are talking about young adult success, where our students are supposed to already have the bricks of agency, their own self-empowerment. They already have the competencies, knowledge, and attitudes, and they have the integrated concept of identity already established. So we need to look for all three main topics. And when we are addressing these topics, we will go in the education, health, work domains, as well as we are preparing them for the family, the friendship, and the civic engagement aspects that they are going to deal with when later on in their lives, when they are already adults. In short, for holistic education, we have the certificate of birth. Once Nandish Patel has published the paper you see in the slide, here we have the link to the paper, and we want to ask you if you have some moments later on today or in the following days to just go into the paper done by Professor Patel and see the main characteristics from the person who put this theory into the worldwide net, let's say like this. We want to have two main aspects. For the holistic learner, we have some recommendations, and for the holistic teacher, because this works both ways. We have to be holistic teachers in order for our students to be holistic learners. So we want to reach the maximum level and for the students and for them to recognize the value of education. And of course, we want them to become self-assured, autonomous learners, for this aspect to become a sustainable aspect later on in their life. So they have to be in love with education, in love with every aspect that gives them growth and the mentality of growth. We need to do this by understanding some of the basic psychological needs all of us have. In short, this will be the self-determination theory done by Ryan and Deci that says, in short, that we all have three basic psychological needs, then we have to fulfill. This would be the competence need, it will be the autonomous need, and it will be the relationship need. So this will be the flow from the next aspect of our presentation, because it is considered to be a basic psychological need, the community aspect. We see that this is so very important for our students to reach first the relatedness need, fulfillment, in order to further go to autonomy and to go for competence. So we will start from scratch with the relationship building. And in most of the cases, when we talk about interactions, we will talk about two theories that are shaping our interactions. So first of all, we could talk about social exchange theory. In short, everybody, when going into an interaction, we look at the benefits and the costs of entering that particular interaction. Of course, in the educational realm, the classroom is already set. We already have the interaction there for us, and we need to make the best out of this benefits and costs decision, because the more we offer, the more we receive. This will be as simple as this. So basically, when we offer more in terms of relationship with our students, we will always receive more, and we will set up the stage for them to follow the same rules, to offer more in order to get more. Another topic that usually we reach is the personal construct theory done by Kelly, and this would go in short as a theory for personality and cognition, where the person becomes the main actor of their life. So we are in charge of our own lives. About community of inquiry, the second topic that we wanted to share with you today, we are talking about this community of inquiry mainly in fields related to online education, but the theory goes almost the same in face-to-face meetings. And in short, it's about instructor virtual visibility. We have significant work done in the teaching presence. We see here in the picture that we are talking about three presences. It's about the teaching presence, it's about the social presence and the cognitive presence. Each of us as educators have to change and to make sure that we address all of this. And when we talk about teaching presence, we are talking about our course design. When we are talking about social presence, we go into the interactions for learning, into the learning experience, and of course, socialization. And when we go into the cognitive presence, we are talking about the self-study. I will briefly go into these aspects. We have huge research on these three roles, and as a brief conclusion, a lot of researchers discovered that if a particular teacher does not have the social presence, then the teaching presence and the cognitive presence will just go unseen. So basically, if we are not able to reach for our learners and to get the social presence into role, we will never reach their potential with the other two teaching presences. This will be the theory, but in a few minutes we will present you some research conclusions, and then all these concepts will be more clear. In theory, for the teaching presence, we will look for instructional design and organization, setting up the curriculum, establishing the time parameters, and so on. When we talk about our own social presence, we will refer to the interaction we have with our students, others' messages and how do we respond to messages, complimenting and expressing, of course, agreement and appreciation. For the cognitive presence, we will look for the concepts we propose to our learners. We will go for exploration, divergence, suggestions, brainstorming, and conclusion sections together with our students. And when these presences overlap, we will talk about setting up the climate for education. We will talk about selecting the content according to both presences, and of course about supporting the discourse in the educational setting. We have here the teaching presence, referring to the creation, implementation, and procedures that determine how community is managed on an ongoing basis. So starting with the first classes we have until the end of our course. The main important aspect is the first interaction we have with our students. Then for the social presence, we can talk about the ability to express feeling about the educational experience, so the reflective side of education, being responsible to all other comments. We have to address all comments, and building a sustainable and strong sense of group commitment. We are in a group, and we will soon see how important is the group community for enhancing the grit of the students. And for cognitive presence, we have to explore new content and information, new methodology, new teaching aspects that we have to share with our students. For the teaching presence, it's not only about setting up the community, it's also about running the community. We will talk about instructional design and management, then about facilitating discourse and direct instruction together with the indicators. As for social presence, we will talk about emotional expression, open communication, and group cohesion. And for the cognitive presence, we will talk about triggering events, the power we have to propose triggering events to our students, to explore the concept, to integrate them into different experiential topics, and of course, to have the resolution. we need to set expectations in the beginning. We need to work as reflective as possible. And of course, we have to use the encouragement for learners to explore more on their own. So this will be the main core points. And in the following minutes, I would like to welcome my colleague, Professor Tiberio Dughi, for the sense of belonging part of the presentation.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the host for my invitation, and I would like to invite you to go from cognitive presence, from social presence to emotional presence, according to principle of holistic learning. I would like to invite you to see this, to see with attention these images, to watch at these images, and explore how and what you feel about this. Maybe if you would want, you would write on the chat just one word about your feelings when you see these three images. Maybe the time it's not enough. I just, okay, thank you, Jyoti. You started connection. Okay, if anybody else want to do this, I will be happy to start with this discussion, because for security, thank you, Lucia. Okay. I think it's important for us for establish a good relationship with students to make a good contact with ourselves. And Dana talk to you about to be present in a cognitive way, in active way, but it's important also to be present in emotional way. This is why we choose to talk about sense of belonging. But let's see what it's right here. Okay, everybody hear me? Yes. So what it's about when we talk, when you see sense of belonging here, Mukiele stated that belonging does not just mean being inside or outside the group, but involves also developing a personal identification with the group and forming a social identity. Sense of belongingness. Thank you, Domingo. Also, we have 4 defining attributes: positive emotion, positive social relation, involvement, and harmonization. Positive emotion are an important defining attribute of belongingness. Various authors have suggested that these include a sense of attachment, a sense of intimacy, a sense of usefulness and support, and also a sense of pride. Second, the student must maintain positive relationship with our peers and teachers. This social relationship must be accompanied by encouragement, acceptance, support, respect, and warmth. We can go to attribute 3 now and discuss about willingness to engage in a meaningful way with a group. This involvement can be in the classroom or outside of it, extracurricular activities. And also, we talk about harmonization, defining as an important attribute to a sense of belongingness. This involves adapting, adjusting to the demands of a group when the needs arises. We can go now, Dana. Okay. Also, the researchers revealed and underlined that the sense of belongingness in a learning community includes feelings of being welcome, respected, included, and encouraged by others, teacher or classmates, in the academic classroom, as well as feeling oneself to be an important part of the class life and activities. It entails more than just a perceived fondness or want. It also entails support and consideration for personal autonomy and the learner as an individual. When we talk about this sense of belongingness in virtual learning, we can also talk about Dana. You can go now further. Thank you. Yes, thank you. In online learning, we can go back, please. So in online learners could experience feelings of isolation and anxiety in what they perceive being an alien online learning place, and they are unsure of their capacity to cope. These kind of emotion are inversely related to a sense of belongingness. Summarize, we can say that sense of belongingness has two main characteristics for students. It involves sentiment of acceptance, need, and value. It also involves connection to a group, class, subject, institution, or all of them, according to this research. Also, thank you, Dana. You can go. Also, another studies reveal that sense of belonging, it's tight related with academic self-efficacy, higher student achievement, higher learning satisfaction, lower attrition rates, self-efficacy, self-esteem, self-confidence, and internal motivation. This is for students. What happens for teachers? Why it's important to know teachers about sense of belonging, and what is the connection with their behavior? The studies underline that how friendly and approachable the teacher are, how organized they are, and how much they value student participation influence the sense of belonging at students. So this is the reason we can go. And also another studies, we can go further. Next, yes, thank you. Go back, please. Another studies revealed that improving school belonging actually means to improve expectation for success to the students, appreciation of academic performance, school engagement, performance of the students, and also self-reported effort. How we can do this as teachers? We draw here some recommendation. For example, as a school support, we can provide a learning environment based on trust, mutual respect, and confidence, encourage students to express their emotion and beliefs without fear being criticized, offer students occasion to be useful by involving in activities what require responsibilities and their competences, ask students if they have need for help, encourage their awareness about their needs for understanding or affection, use teamwork for learning, let the students use their experience for learning together, organize extracurricular activities with and for students, provide to each student specific tasks and responsibilities what involve connection with the other students. And also, regarding peer support, we as a teacher, we can do this, encourage students to talk about what happened in the classroom if they have missed a class, offer occasion to students for sharing with class their opinions about assignment or tests, include discussion or debates in learning activity class. And for teacher support, we could provide a learning activity based on students' questions, settle the objectives of learning activities with students, ask the students their ideas or opinions about the learning content, offer the student help if they do not understand course-related material, provide for student encouragement, objective feedback and acceptance. Let students know they can talk to you about learning materials or personal problems, also outside the class time, not only in the during the class time. Give yourself time to talk to students if they needed help, and especially when they ask you for help. Provide students understanding for their problem when they talk about it. These are only a few recommendations, and based on our current research, we can do more on this field. Dana, thank you.
Thank you, Tibi. For the last minutes, we have prepared, in short, some conclusions about the research that we recently done in our Evlico University of Arad. I'm not going to talk about objectives, methodology. In short, we want to see how the teacher presence, sense of belonging are related to grit and developing grit in students. And for this, we have used the scales already available on the internet. We have the the sense of belonging scale, and the sense of belonging is operationalized by perceived peer support, perceived classroom comfort, perceived isolation, and perceived faculty support. This all goes into the relationship building aspect. Then we have investigated the teacher presences, so how our students see ourselves as teachers, coming from teaching presence, social presence, and cognitive presence, to know which one is the most important for them. And lastly, we have used the grid scale, the one developed by Angela Duckworth. You already, I think you already have this scale, and maybe you already used it with the 8 items. And in short, this will be our results that we have obtained. Here is the correlation matrix. I'm not going to talk about, but we will stay for 2 minutes on the network analysis. Here in the picture, we see all the concepts that refer to the teaching presences, developing curricula, facilitating, the cognitive presence of triggering events, how powerful is a teacher in creating triggering events. In short, this will be all teacher presences. And here we will have the grid. And in this network analysis, we looked at how grid is influenced by all the other variables. Here is the sense of belonging, and here is the teaching presences, all 3 of them. And as we see on our 537 students, we have reached this interesting conclusion that in order to get to grit, all the teaching presences must flow through the perceived faculty support. So if the students do not feel connected, and they do not feel connected by the faculty, this means from the doorman to the secretary to all the other persons that they interact with when they are in the university. So if this connection is not felt as supportive, the teaching presences will never reach the grid. In terms of network analysis, the blue lines represent the positive correlations we expect to see, and the red line represent the negative correlations that we want to focus and to improve the aspect. And in relation to grid, we see that the most aspect comes from sense of belonging in terms of faculty support. And one of the most important aspects is sense of belonging, classroom comfort. So if our students do not perceive positive classroom comfort, they will not develop grit. They will stagnate and they will not want to develop and pursue long-lasting passion for education and learning and research. On the negative side, this variable right here is sense of belonging, perceived isolation. We see the damage that this perceived isolation has on grit, because we have a red negative correlation. So the higher they are perceived as isolated, the lower the grit it is. And we see here the peer support. This is an interesting result we got, because the higher the peer support is, the lesser the grit is. This means that we need to look at the classroom comfort and the community comfort, that this is the only variable that in our research influences the grit and enhances the grit, because we want our students to be critical thinkers and active learners. And again, we have received these conclusions, and later we have developed some strategies in order to better reach with our presences for the development of grit in students. And for the last 2 minutes, we want to offer some general recommendations that we were building up together with our colleagues on how to build the relationship to be the most effective as possible. So first of all, we have to accept and celebrate all the differences between all of us. We have to listen effectively. This would be a crucial skill in boosting anyone's self-esteem, because we need a high self-esteem in order to express, for our students to express themselves. So the psychological climate must be positive, so they have the trust to share their knowledge and their personality. We have to give them our time. We have to develop our own communication skills in order to reach the objectives that we have stated, and to disregard and to be aware of the danger of assumptions. So we have to clearly communicate everything that we want to share with them. How to manage the mobile technology into our lives and into our teaching, in order that this mobile technology does not become a distraction, and our students will never exhibit a lack of mobile phone etiquette, especially when education is done with the technology devices. We have to learn to give and to receive feedback, which under quotes represent the food of the progress. Of course, the feedback must be constructive, either it's positive or negative. And lastly, but most importantly, we have to develop empathy. We need to relate to another person's feelings and needs without blaming, giving advice, or trying to fix the situation. And in terms of the empathy we are supposed to have, we can talk here about the affective empathy and the cognitive empathy. But when we try to relate with our students without blaming, we need to take full knowledge about the affective empathy and walk in their shoes, how it's said. So thank you for the time you have offered us for listening us. We reached our time limit at 10:45, and for the following few minutes, we welcome any question you have. We would like to answer and to share information with you. So please, if you have any questions, we are here for you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Danarat and Dr. Tiberu. So I think when our participants are warming up, I have a question. It's really interesting that you have mentioned about two different kinds of empathy, right? And you really highlighted on peer-to-peer support. So in a peer-to-peer support environment, could you emphasize a bit more on these two different kinds of empathy and how teachers can be more aware of it and create an environment where these two kinds of empathies are kind of nurtured among students and also among teacher colleagues in any school environment?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, in short, when we talk about affective empathy and cognitive empathy, we usually refer to this. Affective empathy would be, I feel what the other person is feeling. And the cognitive empathy is, I think as the other person is thinking. And we need to have both kind of empathy, because in most of the cases, when we are feeling our students' feelings, we will reach them in an emotional level. But when we turn and think, try to think how they think, and we enter into their decision-making system, we are more able to guide them through the process. So we have to feel their feelings to understand their feelings, but then we have to reach their decisional side where we can guide them. Because in most of the cases, they will screen our emotions, feelings, insecurities, and everything that we show. If ourselves we feel insecure, or we have our doubts, or we are not in the mood for, I don't know, a particular session with the students, because in most of the cases, everybody has some, let's call them light problems that interfere with our work. But if we are feeling these, let's call them negative feelings, our students will perceive them in the same way that we perceive their feelings and their thinking. But as educators, when we go to appeal to this cognitive empathy, we in most of the cases are urged to think how they think. And this is the most difficult part of the cognitive, of the empathy aspect, because in most of the cases everybody is thinking like, I will feel like my students and I will understand them and try to reach to them. But they forgot about the cognitive aspect of empathy, where we are supposed to think like they are. And if we think like they think, then our knowledge and sharing will reach their minds, because we have a common language. So we need to think about both empathies and to express them both in class. So I hope I got it
Yeah.
in time.
Yes, thank you very much. I think this distinction is really important. We have not actually explored empathy in such a way. If you could have some relevant literature that our teachers can read, because for at least I have heard of it for the first time, and for our teachers who have heard it for the first time, if they can at least to internalize the meaning, if they can read some useful information, that would be great. If you could share some reading materials, perhaps. So does anyone have any questions? Please feel free to either type in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and speak up, or also you can raise your hand, then we can, yeah. Any comments if you don't have any questions?
So I'm sorry to interfere. There's only one aspect. So we were researching a lot of aspects, positive and negative aspects. And we reached this empathy part when we looked for cyberbullying and bullying in class, because this is a huge negative aspect that unfortunately is present, I think, in every country. So we were thinking, doing a project on cyberbullying and bullying, and we were thinking how to reach to students. We went to high school students to develop their awareness of the damage that the words can do. So we saw words and interaction as both a weapon and as both as a relief instrument, let's call it. And we looked for cognitive empathy, because in most of the cases where a bullying action takes place, it's a lot of empathy involved in there. And if we want to train our students in order to not to become bullies, we have to reach their cognitive empathy. And I can share some research we were doing together with our colleagues. And we were trying to develop trainings for our students to be more aware of how a victim is thinking, because they are not thinking, the bullies, at how the victim feels, of course, because the bully is about the imbalance of perceived power. the bullying does not involve any physical harm. So we just have psychological aspects where we do nothing, we just say things. And by this time that we are trying to create training programs, we were using a lot theater forum approach. I'm sure you've heard about theater forum approach, where the students played a particular bullying situation. They all have their roles. And in the end, we asked them to please change the result of the action, so the damage can never be done. And we had some very interesting insights working face to face with students. And unfortunately, we are looking for research or anybody working in digital theater forum, because we are not able to fully reach participants when we are doing this theater forum approach in online settings. So just for face-to-face settings, we had huge impact working with theater forum in acknowledging and letting the ignorance go, because we need to focus on education. So I just needed to tell this. Maybe I will give you some ideas of how to handle bullying in your own settings, because I'm sure you have bullying situations.
Thank you, Dr. Danarat. So please feel free to ask any questions that you may have on the session or any comments that you'd like to share. This is your chance to ask more, because sense of belonging and community of inquiry and relationship building is such an important part of pedagogical aspect. So that we hope that you have some good questions for our speakers. I think we have a question in the chat box from Jesusa. So the question from Jesus is, as a teacher, what is the best thing to do if a student intently isolate himself or herself from the group?
You
are on mute.
Okay, sorry, you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. It's more complex than it appears when a student isolates himself from the group. The first step for me as a teacher, I think I should go and listen to him, try to find his need and the reason that he chose to stay alone. But essentially, it's to listen, to hear his voice, even he maybe for the beginning. In the beginning, he don't want to talk about it, and then we have to have patience, have a good attention to his behavior. And wait for his disponibility to answer, to talk with us, to answer to our questions. The questions used in this situation, I recommend to be non-intrusive, to be full of respect for his needs, for his feelings. And have to be concentrated on this part, on his feelings. For example, how do you feel now? What it make you to stay here alone? And it's important to avoid the question why you stay here, because if we use this question, it could be difficult for him, because maybe he understood that we are blaming him for something, because I think it's wrong what he is doing, and this is not our intention. That's why I recommend to use another questions focused on his feelings. It's more than that, but I hope that I answered to our colleague question.
Thank you. I see that Tanshimin, she raised her hand. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm interested with your current research about the teacher presence, sense of belonging, and grit in UAV students. So I'm quite intrigued by the network analysis that you have done. Yeah, so yeah, can you tell us more like how can we use this research to like benefit our students? Like, so how grit and sense of belonging can build each other. I don't know, like how do we use this in our classroom practices?
Yes, of course, and I'm sure you, I'm very happy that you turn us to this slide. In 1 minute, I have to explain. So we were thinking like, oh my God, my all presences do not count if I do not have the connection between perceived faculty support. And it rang some bells in our heads that this connection is not seen just between me and my students, but they see the connection between the whole faculty. So the whole building needs to be welcoming. It's a common and complex situation where every little aspect must be positive, psychological, safe, and tell the student, tell him that okay, it's safe here. You can just get your voice out, and you can be heard. You can say what you think because nobody is going to judge you. You are feeling supported. So this was the main aspect. We were thinking, okay, my whole presence is because as a teacher, I prepare myself, for example, 90% of the time, and 10% of the time I look for other aspects, or how to chat with them, how to respond them on WhatsApp, how to respond to their emails or their phone calls. This would be 10%, and we see that this 10% must go a lot higher. And we even have colleagues that keeps communication with the students on Instagram, because that's their main channel. It's not Facebook, it's not email, it's not WhatsApp, it's Instagram. And some teachers go into Instagram and there they talk, and there they open up, and they can start a relationship from there. So this goes as deep as this. We see the whole connection as a positive connection, coming from all sides, not only me as a teacher, but my class, my institution, my everything. We are going to publish all these findings into the book chapter our colleagues have prepared. And soon all these ideas will be in the chapter, and you will be able to read them and maybe address us further questions. We will be online. These two are our email addresses we can share. So I am supposed to stop the presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dana Rad and Dr. Tiberu Dugi, for such an insightful session. So just to summarize for everyone, I think they have discussed really some key aspect when it comes to relationship building and in the context of holistic education. One thing that I would like to highlight that came up again and again is peer-to-peer support and sense of belonging. And I really liked how they started from, talking about student-teacher interaction, creating relationship in teaching and learning environment from a community and social aspect. Then they move on to an emotional and individual aspect with sense of belonging. So hopefully you got some really useful ideas to reflect and then kind of practice in your own classroom setting. They're currently writing an article on the same topic that will be available in our handbook on the holistic teaching and learning environment that we are going to publish soon, hopefully this month. We are really working very hard with all the scholars, so please stay tuned. And then of course we'll make a formal announcement when we launch the handbook. So with that, really a big thank you to our speakers today. Let me share my screen quickly so that we can see what's next. And it's quite important to pay attention to. So now that we have talked about, sense of belonging, let's come to our session about, how you want to create a sense of belonging among you and support you during your team learning phase starting with the first peer-to-peer learning session. So this is a mandatory exercise for you to successfully complete this school collaboration and also get your certificate as well. So please don't miss it. We will do an exercise called identity envelope. So it will give you an opportunity to reflect on who you are, what are your values in the context of holistic education, and then you will have an opportunity to learn about your facilitators' identity through their identity envelope and your peers as well. So when we create the team, we will share the result from this exercise so that everybody get to know everyone, and then hopefully there will be some commonalities and then values that you all care about to create a sense of belonging. So please look out for the link to complete this exercise in e-learning platform. So when you go to the school collaboration course on our ASF e-learning platform, you will see the announcement section. So let me quickly show you here. So with an arrow, I just show here exercise identity envelope. So if you click here, it will give you the link. And when you go to the link, it has the instruction about what it is and what you need to do. And the deadline for this is by Monday, so next Monday and 7th of November, because we are having the first peer-to-peer session for this group on 10th of November. Just a quick note for those of you who are participating in both collaboration, the exercise is the same. It's about acting on your values, understanding your values. However, we are doing it a bit differently. So those of you in the other school collaboration, you are focusing more on in the context of sustainable development, and here on holistic education. So that's it from me. And with that, congratulations again for successfully completing the self-learning phase. And if you have missed any session, please watch the recording. And again, thank you to our speakers today. And thanks to all of you for being such wonderful participants during this self-learning phase. So we will see you during the team learning phase next week. Thank you.